One of the challenges for at-home learning can be how to organize the learning materials for students. The purpose of this video is to show you some great templates from Slidesmania where you can organize all of your student learning activities, links, instructional videos, all of it into a Google Slides or PowerPoint. So it doesn't matter if you're in a Google or Microsoft environment. It doesn't matter if you're using Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, D2L Brightspace, whatever you're using. Organizing your materials in some slides that are hyperlinked with multimedia can be really helpful. So visiting slidesmania.com, I want to show you some different categories of templates you might wish to use. Under education, you'll see there are choice boards and games. That can be useful for things like a daily activity choice board. And you'll see in here the template is for several different choices or daily activities for this. Now, for those of you who would like to instead create something for an entire week, there are weekly planners as well you can share with your students. That's one I'm going to demonstrate here in a moment. But here's a really good one called a weekly planner. And you'll see in this category, again, there are several different weekly planner options. But in this particular one, you'll see that there are a few different activities for each day that are set up. So you can put several literacy, numeracy, and other activities in here for each day and replace some of the things in here with your own links, your own images, your own instructional video or audio as you choose to, and share that with your students. I'm going to demonstrate how to post this to your Google Classroom from Google Slides. So in our weekly planner, if we go and we find this particular template we want, you can choose to download the PowerPoint version if you like PowerPoint, or open in Google Slides. When you click open in Google Slides, it will kind of give you a preview of this template, and then we'll invite you to click the Use Template button in the upper right-hand corner. When you click that, it will now create a copy and put it in your Google Drive for you to use. So here's a little preview of it. You would click on Use Template, and up it would pop in your Google Drive. Okay? And you can see that the different numbers here are hyperlinked to different days and activities within the day. So this is Monday activity 1. Now let's say I found an activity that I wanted my students to do related to a book they were reading. So let's say this is the activity I want to do. I can come into this particular slide and I can click on where it says, here goes your title, and I can just change it to what I want it to say for this particular activity. Now, in terms of the instructions, video and audio instructions are really, really easy to create, almost instant. And it can be a really useful thing for your students to come back to. Even if you're doing live teaching, it can be a really useful thing for your students to come back to see those instructions again. So let's say you'd like to do video instructions so they can kind of see. I would go to this particular website, and I might use a tool like Screencastify. So by using a tool like Screencastify to record my screen and my voice, and possibly my webcam if I want, I could then start to describe what it is I want my students to do in this particular activity. Here it pops up a preview of that recording that I just did. The next part is a really important step. In Screencastify, just click on Copy Shareable Link, the blue button up here in Screencastify. What that does is when you put the video on your weekly planner, your students will have permission to see it. That thing there changes the sharing permissions. So I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm going to go back to my weekly planner. So what I will do on this slide is I will insert video, and I will insert it from my Google Drive, because when you record a Screencastify video, it saves to your Google Drive automatically. And what we can do is we can even search by recent, and it will show the most recent things that we have recorded. And lo and behold, the most recent thing that we have recorded is that Screencastify video. There it is. So if I hit select, it may pop in onto my screen a little bit larger, in some cases a lot larger. And what I would do is I would resize it smaller to where I want it to fit on my slide. Put it where it should go. Great. Now I don't want my students to be able to edit this. I only want them to see it. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing this with all my other slides if I wish to, until it's ready to share with my students. Then on my Google Classroom, I'm going to go in, and on my particular classwork section, I'm going to create, and for this particular template, I want to call it a material. All right, I'll call it weekly activities. And I'm going to put it under the topic this week. Now that slides weekly planner that we have is in our Google Drive. So I'm going to add it from Google Drive. Again, because it's the most recent thing now that we've worked on from our Google Drive, or one of the most recent things, that slides weekly planner, there it is. I'm going to select it right away and hit insert. And it will show up as a material viewable to my students, such that when I post it, now my students will be able to see it on my Google Classroom. So there is a weekly template that I have in my Google Classroom for my students. Again, if you're using any other type of learning management system, you can share that PowerPoint or Google Slides in any number of ways to your students, such that when they open it, they'll be able to click to the right page to find the activities and links, and in some cases, video instructions for your materials. So that's a really easy way to get started with organizing these activities. Visit slidesmania.com. These are free for teachers and a great way to organize your at-home learning materials.